We stumbled into it. We liked each other sometimes. We dated 6 years and broke up and got back together and broke up and got back together. And finally, I did the male ultimatum. I said, "You're going to marry me? I'm going to move on." She said, "Why would I marry you?"
That sounds suspiciously like blackmail. I'm out, is what I kind of said.
Yeah, yeah. And it was.
And then
it was blackmail. So the dark side of me saying, "Come on, are we going to do it?" And I hadn't been very successful, and I had 2 divorces, 2 11-year marriages when I met her. And then we dated 6 years, and we've been together 35 years after that. So we've done something that we can still, well, we can still look each other in the eye and have a conflict and not say, "Get out of my life." You know, we can still say, "My God, it's hard to relate to you," and then take a breath and come back into it.
Relate. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a very big thing because, you know, when you talk to, I have a feeling I have to be really careful because I don't want this to come across as I'm shaming psychotherapy. I'm not. I don't feel that way at all. I'm very appreciative of psychotherapy and psychotherapists. But I think we've been seduced into a diagnostic and tightly structured model. And I think that loses a lot in terms of marriages and what they're for and what they can be for. So I think we don't talk enough about marriage, and that we in the book From Marginal to Magnificent, I said I had my graphic artist make 3 chairs in the office, and one was for her, and one was for him, and then one was for the marriage, and that's one of the graphics. And so I would say, when a couple comes in and they're telling you what's wrong with her, what's wrong with him, which is everybody's story, so what does the marriage think? I learned to ask that question. And then here comes Rob. And they would look at me blank-faced. "What do you mean? What does the marriage think?" Right? Hi, Rob. Come in.
Thank you for having me.
So I would say, "What does the marriage think?" And he said, "What do you mean?" "Well, you don't think the marriage has a voice? The marriage has a will? The marriage has an intention? You don't think that?" Because I had an intention when I married you. I believe you had an intention when you married me. But neither one of us asked what the intention of this marriage was. What's the intention of the partnership? Which for me is equally, if not more important than what each individual thinks.
But don't you think when people that married long ago, younger, there was no intention.
Right.
That's the farmer marriage. That's the farmer marriage I'm mentioning. But even there was an intention. You're going to be my helpmate. You're going to work, and I'm going to work. You'll have babies. I'll make sure there's enough whatever. So, but we didn't have a very deep intention. We didn't have what we would call a conscious intention.
No.
I mean, if I'm married to you and you're 80 and I'm 80, I want to know what the hell you got to bring to this relationship, and you want to know what the hell I'm going to bring to the relationship.
Not a purse or a nurse.
Yeah. So what happens, what happens is we slide, my theory, my thing, and we're going to talk about it, we slide into senility. And you'll meet very few people married over 50 whose the way they talk to each other you find very interesting. You can find, I find very few people not very interesting in 50s and 60s and 70s and how they talk about each other. "Oh, Jack is retired now, and he plays 2 or 3 days a week, plays golf on the thing, and, I have my women friends, and it's like you want to go, is there nothing exciting happen in that house? Nothing exciting happen between those 2 people? Because when I get with Dolly and her husband, Alan, there's life, and you can feel it. Not perfection, but there's life. You get with us, people have told us, "Gee, you're not afraid of conflict right in the front of everybody?" I said, "What, you want me to hide it like my parents did?" That ended in cancer. So, no, we don't. We learned not to hide it. she's from New England and a New England kind of approach, a mentality, and so she was more reluctant to be as open about conflict as I was, I believe, at the beginning. But
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Not anymore. So then what happens is you say, well, it's not enough to have a motivational speech. You're meant to grow, or you're meant to learn those things that everybody knows about. Well, it's not enough. I decided that I, by my lonesome, would create a model that would take care of the whole span of marriage. And I called it the scaffolding of marriage. So last time we talked, I talked about asking you what women bring to a session. And I ask you what men bring to a session. What's unique? You know, well, you know what I bring. You know, I'm a problem solver. I'm task driven. So if I come in session, if Lynn and I come into your office and I'm saying, well, you know, it's really not that complex, Lynn. I mean, every time I tell you, you tell me you want the trash taken out, it feels like you're mad at me and you're talking down to me. Oh, I don't mean to do that. And the therapist helps with recreating that language. And we leave the session and we say, we'll see you next week. And then next week, she says something. Well, I don't like how you don't want to go to these various social events with me. And I say, oh, well, you know, I'm older now and I can't walk as well and I don't want to be in that, yeah. And she says, yeah. And the therapist helps us to kind of smooth it out. And by the time we're done that hour, we feel like we smoothed it out. Still, we haven't touched the marriage. It's conflict driven. It's what's wrong driven. And I'm opposed to that now in my life. What I want to drive my partnership, because I'm 87 years old, what I want to drive my partnership is what's next, not with what's wrong. Mm-hmm. So I created the model, and you're familiar, but I want to just remind you of the model. Love starts out as we fall in love, if we're lucky. And we're calling that love's origin, that two people fall in love. And they say, wow, you know, I've never been kissed the way you kiss. Or, wow, I can't wait to talk to you tonight. Or, wow, she laughs at my jokes. So we say a lot of stuff. We just had a grandson here with his new wife and named Anthony. And I said, Anthony, why did you marry her? And he looked at me like everybody young that I've married several couples. And they say, why do you want to marry her? They say, why are you asking that? Well, of course, you know, I love her. And I say, yeah, you love your mother too. You know, marrying her. Why do you want to marry her? Why do you want to marry him? You know what? The bus stops there. They give me a lot of blah, 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 blah. Well, you know, I mean, she's really a sweet woman and I'd really like to have children with her. Well, he's really this, he's honest and he's work hard. They give me all that. Okay, but there's about 1 billion partners out there that fit those criteria. Why do you want to marry him? Why do you want to marry her? The why question. So you got love's origin, and then I say, what comes next? Foundation comes next. We call it the elementary phase. The elementary phase, if you think of the model with children, you don't have to have children to do this, but the model is easier to teach. You think of the model with children, the elementary phase is between that time you married and you had your children, and they turn adolescent. That's a specific time between a man and a woman. There's specific things happening. I'm choosing my career. You're thinking about the career you're missing. We're finding a residence. We're investing our money. We're teaching our children how to wipe their butt and brush their teeth. We're getting them to school and sports and blah, blah, blah. All that's going on until somewhere in adolescence, which is what? 12, 13, 14 years after the marriage. And you're 40 or 45 or 50. Guess what? You've hit your adolescence, your second adolescence. And all of a sudden you're saying, what am I doing here? I really... You know, I mean, I really don't like kissing him that much. A woman told me this, a couple, they've been married 27 years. This is about 3 years ago. And she's so mad at him, and they divorced. I didn't do anything good as far as I could tell. But she sat there and said, straight-faced, I never did like kissing you.
Oh, ouch.
Ouch.
I could feel that sword all the way through.
Yeah.
And she said it with a half smile. Look, I'll fix you,
She's pissed
you
off.
son of a bitch. I'll fix you, fuck you, yeah.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm going, whoa, that's a lot.
Now.
That's a lot of anger. And he sat there blinking. Well, he wouldn't know what to say to that. I wouldn't know either. You never liked kissing me, and you've been kissing me for 27 years? And we've been making love, and we have children? Whoa. So if you look at that, you say there's a lot of visioning missing early on, and the elders, in my mind, are the ones to hold accountable for that. We don't teach our children much about visioning. That's why I think a lot of 12, 13, 14-year-olds get in trouble with substance abuse. They're trying to get to vision. They're trying to get to something beyond what they know.
What Penny already knows.
Yeah. And so you got a 14-year-old in your office. You don't know what to do with them. Of course not, because you haven't gotten inside their house yet. You're still on this side. You're the professional, and you're using diagnostic language in your head. You're saying, well, you know, they're depressed, they're chronic this, they're... oh, shut up. Now, I don't want to put down diagnosis because you got Dr. Rob Feely here, and he's an expert, and he's got a briefcase full of medications for you if you want.
He's real conservative about that too.
Yes. I'm having fun because I can with him.
Yeah.
So
But I don't know how much. Yeah.
Rob would say, no, I'm not the guy waiting in the wings with a briefcase full of medications to drug your kid, to make your kid get through. He's working and consulting with Engage. So, I mean, he's one of us. But I'm saying you got that out there.
Sure.
You got that out there.
Sure.